on. Are we on?
We're on.
We're on?
We're on.
Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. Just kidding. Welcome back, everyone, to Breaking Apart Podcast. This is Ruby and Vanessa.
What up,
We're
guys?
so happy to be back with you guys today. We're on some toxic conversations for you.
I think those are the most popular. Like, I'm starting to get a little trend with our viewers.
I mean, you know, we're Latinas. The chisme, that's where it's at. I mean,
Telenovelas.
Telenovelas were not popular because they weren't, like, dramatic.
That's true. That's
How
true.
was your week?
It was good.
Oh.
It was really good, guys. Guess what I did? I got plenty of sleep.
Hey, I know you wanted that for Christmas, right?
Yeah, I have asked for that for Christmas and my birthday. I'm like, I just want, like, no interruptions. I just want to sleep. But no, it was a lot of fun. I hung out with my kids, which I do, but it was a little bit different.
I was gonna say, damn, we got them there all the time.
Yeah,
fucking
no,
kids.
but like, I'm always doing
sorry.
something with them, like some activity
My bad.
that they have to do. And this time I just got to like chill with my kids.
Damn, I got the opposite. I got to leave my kid at home because I'm always chilling with him, and I got to take a nice little trip to New York.
Oh my God.
I
I'm not
know.
actually, I'm going to have to say I'm not really that excited for you because I personally don't like New York. So,
It was like probably my least favorite. I'm definitely going back.
you're brave.
Well, I mean, there were so many different. It was raining for like 2 out of the 4 days, and then it was interesting. It was different. You know, it was definitely different. Love the shopping though. But the NBA store is amazing. So like, you know, I was in heaven as soon as I walked into that store. It was like it was over. I was in there. I don't know for how long. Then I went back in there for I don't know how long. Then I had the sneaker store that has sneakers that are sold out everywhere. It was bad. It just went from this woo when it came to like my cart. My cart was a little TikTok. Wee wee wee. Like
I've never heard that.
no.
No.
It's like my cart be like wee. That was me in New York. So,
I'm glad
but
you
I'm
had
excited to be back. And
Good.
this week's topic I'm excited about, and it was influenced by the baby and the situation he has going on with his baby mama, where they went live and he was being like, get out of my house. She was like, no. And he was like, you're my side bitch. And she was like, no, we have a kid together. I've been around your family. So then I was like thinking to myself, why do we stay in toxic relationships? So I texted Vanessa and I was like, this is what we're going to talk about. And we have two amazing people to talk to us about.
Not
It
that they
was-
are in toxic relationships, just because
I
they're
mean, some
amazing
peop-
people to talk
Some
to.
people some people like it. I can't judge people. There's people that like it.
There is. It does become addicting sometimes.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Oh, well.
Read
Time
between
out.
the lines.
I'm like, you okay? Okay, we're on Vegas hype. So, I mean, you guys already know them. They've been on the show before. Welcome back, you guys.
What's up? What's
you.
up? What's
Go ahead
going
and
on?
introduce yourself.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Anna Shell again. Do I do my Instagram again, or what do you want me to do? I'm back.
We'll do it
It's
at
me
the
again.
end.
I'm back.
We got to get her the script for next time.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
like,
I'm like,
What?
I'm just ready to get into this. You know.
Oh,
It's gonna be a fun conversation.
This is
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be
so
fun. Oh,
Yeah.
shout out to the people at T-Bar, by the way. They recognized me from my job. They were like, "You're the best server over there. We love you so much. We always will have you."
Hashtag sponsorship.
Hashtag sponsorship.
Cut you a check.
Oh wait, I can't get it on the camera. So shout out to them. I love T-Bar. I'm
know,
always
it's
there.
really
I'm
good.
like religiously there. My kid loves it. If you guys haven't tried it, amazing.
It's
Try
delish.
T-Bar. So good.
I don't
Right.
drink chai tea, but okay.
It's not. No, it's not chai.
That's what the label says that you got on there. It says
This
chai
is
tea
taro.
on the side. Isn't it chai tea latte? Isn't that what it said or something like that?
No, absolutely not.
I
You're
read
talking
it
about the
wrong.
hat? Yeah, this is chai.
We're not talking
Anyways.
about that.
So we're gonna talk about why do people stay in toxic relationships? Okay. Vanessa went out of like she just did the whole thing. You go, queen.
You know me. I have to like give you guys a background, a history.
She brought the whole
The
dictionary.
dictionary. I need to let you guys. Okay, the reason why I actually decided to make more of an effort on this topic is because when you think of a toxic relationship, I guarantee you every single person in just sitting on this table already has an idea in their head of what a toxic relationship is, and it's probably based on their own personal experience or on something that someone has told them.
Yeah.
But there actually is a definition of what a toxic relationship is.
Give it
Which
to
I
us.
still can't believe that there isn't, but you found it. So I want
And
to
I'm
hear
going to
this.
actually simplify it for
Okay.
everybody because it is kind of long, but I'll give you just like a little wording of it. And it says, blah, blah, blah. So a healthy relationship contributes to our self-esteem. Okay. So anything that you're with your partner and you feel uplifted, that's a healthy relationship. Okay. And emotional energy. So if you feel your energy's up, up, up every time you're around your partner, you guys do things, that's a healthy relationship. A toxic relationship damages your self-esteem and drains your energy. That's just the simplicity of it, right? Now, the reason why it has an actual definition is because that's what happens in a toxic relationship. But like I said, because we all have different perspectives of what it is, but I can guarantee you that whatever you're thinking is toxic, definitely lowers your self-esteem and drains your energy. So that's the literal definition of a toxic
And that
relationship.
came from your Reiki of
Yeah,
a copy.
yeah, it's actually toxic relationships, toxic friendships, just toxicity in general is something that I deal with a lot in my practice because people carry that with them. They leave a toxic relationship, they shed that physical part of the relationship, but they keep the energetic part with them. And then they, guess what? They bring it to the next one and then they project all that anger and all that resentment on the new partner. And that partner doesn't even deserve it. And so it becomes this cycle of them just bringing along all their, what normally people call baggage, right? So, so yeah, that's why I work a lot with toxic energy because it can come from anywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a relationship, but it definitely is a key in having bad energy, low energy in your body.
So I know like some of the more popular things, I don't know if you guys can agree with me, that are considered toxic relationship are like I don't know what I was about to say.
Listen, I have like a whole list.
The
Has
one,
the
thing, the
list.
one thing I can say if you want, because I want to, it's like adding to what you said.
Okay.
Basically, because I've done it, so I won't lie. Like, I've had bad relationships, and I brought stuff to my current marriage or treated my wife a certain way just because of how I was treated by my previous, relationship. And that's kind of adding to what you were
Yeah.
saying, how you bring that energy with you from your previous relationship. It might not be the positive energy. It's that
Exactly.
negative energy that you should get rid of that. You shouldn't bring that into your relationship. And I've learned that the hard way. My wife's probably watching because I told her what we're going to be talking about today. And I've been a corporate of that. Like, I've done that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've moved away from it. I've learned from it, obviously. And that's just part of being with someone and being in a marriage relationship, whatever it may be. But I totally agree. Don't ever bring your negative energy from your previous relationship to compare your new couple, that the person that you're with, to the previous person, because that's not going to work, man.
Yeah. And also, I know a lot of people don't really stick to this, but when you break up with someone, you're supposed to at least take 2 years to yourself to heal from your previous relationship. If you were in a relationship that was like, I don't know, years, then you should take that long. If you were in a relationship where you were just kind of dating somebody, it just didn't work out, then yeah, maybe you should take a couple months. But
Damn, I'm due.
yeah,
What's that, baby?
but
Where you at, daddy? 2 years, I'm due.
She's like, I'm ready.
my
She's
God.
ready.
I'm just kidding.
Single.
No, you're not.
She is ready. I'm gonna vouch for her. She's ready. She's ready.
Oh, man.
But yeah, like, and then we form triggers. So you come into your new relationship and your girlfriend's like, where are you going? And you're like, she's just asking a question, where are you going? But you brought that negative energy. So you're thinking already it's your ex trying to control you, right? So we're like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to let this person control me. And then you go off on them and they're like, I was just asking where you were going, and maybe they had zero intention behind it, but we projected our backstory. We projected the controlling issues from our exes and all of that onto our new relationship. And then it just breaks something, so.
Well, let me ask you, do you think, because you said that people should take at least 2 years, right, to heal. Do you feel like you could still, even after that 2-year mark, let's just say you didn't date anyone, could those traumas still come up? Like, that, like using that controlling
They
example.
can definitely come up if you didn't work on yourself. So you're supposed to take, sorry, I didn't finish. You're supposed to take 2 years off to heal and to completely bring yourself whole again. Because
So
we
it's like
lose,
being intentional about the healing versus
Exactly.
just like going
Being
about my day
single.
for 2 years.
because like there's a big difference between actually being single and finding yourself, and being single but you're like sleeping around and going out and partying and you're still dating in a way, but you're just not in a relationship. That's not going to help you at
It's
all.
like distracting. You're just
Exactly.
distracting.
I
Wait.
think you should date and mess around those 2 years.
Yeah.
What if you're so like, okay, I'm gonna take 2 years off, and you miss out on a person because you're so afraid?
Yeah, but at
Because
the
because if it's the right person, and like you said, a healthy relationship encourages you and it fills you up with positive energy. So what if that person does bring that to you?
Yeah, and then you're all full of negative energy, and then you give that to them, and it's not gonna
Well,
work.
I think that when you first meet someone, though, you're kind of in that honeymoon phase. So
Yeah.
it's like it always feels good in the beginning, and then it may not exactly be healthy, but
Yeah.
it feels good. And then after like a month, you're like, okay, you're a psychopath.
Yeah, that
You're
does
not who
happen.
you said you were. You know. But
Yeah, usually
everyone's on their best behavior in the beginning.
I'd be me.
All-
But no, I do think that I don't think like the 2 year gap is always good either, because what happens, I think, in those 2 years, you learn to be alone, and that alone can be toxic, right? Because now you're super independent, and you've had 2 years of not having to tell anyone where you're going, 2 years of not taking someone into consideration, 2 years of not allowing someone to help you with your own wounds. That I feel like now in those 2 years, you meet someone. I mean, I'm a prime example. And then you're like, yo, who you raising your voice at? Like, I've been, and then you it's easier to cut someone off and not give them the chance. And now everything's toxic to you because you've been in such peace for 2 years.
But that doesn't mean that you're giving me the perfect example of someone who's not healed. Because when you are a person who is whole and like you've worked on yourself, you wouldn't think that. You would obviously, you would be like, oh, are we having an argument? Like, why are you yelling at me? But you'd be like, oh, psh, like no one yells at me. That's a trigger. Someone just pushed your buttons, and that's why you thought of it that way. That's why you were like, no one yells at me.
I mean, no one yells
Right?
at me.
So that's a trigger of yours. You don't like people yelling
I
at you.
just feel like I feel like as an adult, you should treat people the way you want to be treated.
No, exactly.
So my triggers are not like, oh, it's from my past. My triggers are like, I'm not gonna treat you like that. So bájale poquito el volumen, and let's like talk like adults. Cause I'm very like that. I think you should talk about everything. I think communication is key. Period. You have to, when you meet someone, you have to tell them, these are my issues based on this, right? Because there's childhood trauma too. There's not only relationship trauma,
Yep.
right? So you have to find someone that accepts you through that trauma and understands your healing. Because some people might take longer than 2 years to heal, and some people might take less. I just feel like when I say toxic, I feel like a lot of times when you go from toxic relationship to toxic relationship, I think it's more of a child situation than the past relationship situation, if that makes sense.
Well, when you get into a toxic relationship to begin with, that's due to child trauma,
Yeah.
or past trauma, or teenage trauma. So you don't automatically go into a relationship and have, you're like this
No llores.
super, amazing person, and you're, centered, and you have a good head on your shoulder. You go into a relationship and they're toxic, you're gonna leave ASAP. You're gonna be like, yeah, no, and you're gonna leave, right?
100%.
Because you don't have any trauma. You don't, like one of the examples that I have on here is comparison. When people don't have anything better to compare a
Yep.
relationship to, and they grew up with a very abusive, household, that's their comparison. They don't know any better. So
The
they're
norm.
gonna,
Yeah.
so they're gonna go into their very first relationship yelling and screaming and kicking and punching, So, and then that person doesn't do anything about it, and they move on to the next one, and it just keeps going, So I do definitely, I mean, it would be amazing if kids would heal and somehow they would figure out a way
Yeah.
to heal kids, before they get into relationships. But we're all adults here, and we all know that that's not happening.
So I don't know about you guys, but when someone says, oh, I'm guilty of this, right? I think it's the judgmental human side of it. When you see someone treating someone like shit in public, you're automatically like, man, they got some bomb. or they got hella money. Why is that like the human mentality? Why do we think people tolerate people based on sex and money?
I don't think that way.
I don't think that either.
I don't know where the hell you came
don't
up
think
with
that.
I
that.
don't think that either.
You're literally in a
there's
field of your own right there.
Didn't
now.
you
You're
get
by
some people
yourself.
that said that on your?
Oh yeah, someone did say that it was for they stay in a toxic relationship because the sex is good.
Yeah, or because they pay for everything.
Or yeah, they
True.
rely
Yeah,
on them
money.
financially.
Look how many girls are end up with these way
Well, it
older
doesn't necessarily mean
guys.
that they have to have a lot of money though. They just could be a provider.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
a
You know?
provider. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that goes back to a lot of Hispanic moms, never got a divorce. They were married for 34 with their husband their whole life, and they were in a toxic relationship their whole life, but they never learned how to work,
Yeah.
right? So it's really common in the Latino culture,
It is, yeah.
and that's like toxic. Like there's, ugh.
I don't feel like it's as common anymore
No,
as
no.
it was before. But yeah, you're totally right. Like a lot of women would stay in toxic relationships because they couldn't sustain themselves. They had 5, 6 kids, they didn't work, and they were like, what am I gonna do? Where am I gonna go? You do see that a little bit now, but
Not as much.
not as
Well,
much.
okay, so let me touch on that because I wonder now if we don't necessarily, us women or people in general, right? Like I think more particular women, that we don't really stay in toxic relationships, but we can be the toxic person because we don't have to deal with that. Does that make sense? Like it's so easy to be like, I don't need to deal with you. You know what I mean? Like it's so quick to throw that in their face and
because social media and our finances have changed
Yeah,
as women, and
so
now
it's like-
we're a little more bratty.
yeah.
we're a lot more like how can I say, like
To
we
the
have,
left,
like,
to the left?
almost like big dick energy, like
Oh,
but as a woman,
you know
what I
it's
mean?
funny
Like I don't need to deal with you.
No,
it's funny because like I've
Like
heard
I
people
feel like we could be toxic because of that. Like
Yeah.
instead of us not submitting to our men because we're way past those times. But I think that
the
we can
opposite.
be so toxic
it's
in
kind
that
of
form
like
where it's like,
kinda
what
like
do you
listen,
what do
I
you,
make the same amount of money as you, sit the fuck down.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's how females have evolved. And
I'm gonna. That actually goes. Here's my notes. That actually goes into.
Doctora Vanessa.
That goes.
Doctora Vanessa. Sorry, we got
Oh my God.
over here.
That actually goes into self-esteem because I feel like when you are making money, you're self-sufficient, you feel good, your self-esteem goes up, and when your self-esteem goes up, you can get ballsy. You know, and the more independent you are, the more ballsier you are. But
But is that a good thing?
no, that's what I was going
Oh,
towards that. That's
damn.
actually another trauma. Because there's some women who become way too independent to the point where
Why are you looking at me like that? Oh,
they
she
become
turned to you quick. Didn't
she
even-
did
Yeah.
not waste one
was like that.
second.
Someone I know.
yeah, I know,
That
I
is
know her.
I.
And
You know her too?
yeah.
What a coincidence.
I think I wrote her name down here somewhere.
In the notes?
In the
Yeah.
notes, in parentheses.
Yeah. Like
Main
underline.
Which is not a
Wonderful.
bad thing. Like I think it's amazing that women, it's something to honor as well when a woman achieves everything that she wants and accomplishes. But I don't think that should be a reason for. That's what I'm saying. If you're completely healed, you can be the most successful woman out there, and you will still humble yourself in your relationship. But no, we're not healed. We're like, oh, I have power. I'm gonna tell you what to do now.
But I don't really feel like money wise, I'm not like that. You know,
What? You make so much money.
she's lying. Está echando mentiras.
Lies.
Lies. Stop telling people I make yellow money.
Oh my god, that's too
Um,
funny.
I don't think I'm like that when it comes to being independent, and like I think my short
I think you kind of do. Have
I think that I think it gets confused with me having a son and my son being the priority. And if you can't be the same example and role model that I'm being to my kid, then you gotta go.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, I can see that.
Cause I don't mind splitting stuff. I mean, we talked about this. The money's nothing to me. I can be making more money than you. That doesn't make you less of a man to me. Period. As I said, everyone's goals are different. Just cause I want a 5-bedroom and a G series and you want a Honda and a townhouse, that does not make you any less of motivated than I am. That's just who you are, and I respect that. But above all, if you're not gonna be an example to my son, you gotta go. Period. And I don't believe in second chances. I give you one whole ass chance. You mess up, there's no second chance.
Bye.
But could that be toxic?
Very.
Like,
Very.
I just want to
Is
let you
that
guys
toxic?
know everything is no. Yeah,
She's like, does it make him depressed?
we're gonna ask ourselves these questions. I'm just kidding. I'm gonna go a whole session here. Yeah, it's toxic because it's extreme.
Mm.
So nothing should ever be too extreme.
Because it's like, well, people are gonna screw up. Like that's just
Yeah.
we're human. You know what I mean?
Define screw up.
Well,
Cheat.
People make mistakes. I mean,
That could be
cheating
one.
to me, cheating is like that's just no,
Yeah, that's
non-negotiable.
pretty
But
Cheating is not
everything else,
negotiable to me either.
bad. No.
anything else, I feel like it could be worked on because of maybe I don't know. I don't want to say their past trauma, like
Cheating and domestic violence is what I mean by I don't believe in second chances.
domestic. I don't agree with also.
Yeah. Like if you're
Because then it's like all respect is out the window.
All of
you know
it.
what I mean? And it's easy to cross that line again.
So I'll give you a story.
Oh.
We know it's
you-
about to be good. That's why.
You mentioned some women that may have kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the story that I have, and I've said it before, and I know people sound like that. I say probably sound like a broken record, but if you know me, you know I am 100,000% against domestic violence. Reason being, I had a cousin. This was about 9 years ago. She got murdered by her husband out here in Las Vegas.
Oh wow.
She was in her room with her 2 grandkids while her 4 kids slept in the house while it happened. She never left him, but they had a history of domestic violence over and over again, numerous times. I remember when I was a kid one time, he hit her in front of me, had the doors locked. I was able to sneak out, run a block to get my cousin because they lived right around the corner. Just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So he's still on the run, by the way. They still haven't found him. To this day, nobody knows where he is.
What
he just
part of Mexico
disappeared.
is he from?
He's probably in what is it when you cross the border?
Tijuana?
No, not Tijuana.
Juarez.
Juarez.
No,
Sonora?
I'm spacing out.
It's
When
okay.
when it comes back to me, I'll tell
Yeah,
you.
go
But
ahead, because we're gonna do a missing poster real quick. We're
Yeah.
gonna send
Amber
it to our
alert.
cousins.
moral of the story, what I'm trying to get to is that if you are a female and you're out there and you're listening to this, just because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it may be, kids, don't stay with someone that's putting their hands on you. Because once someone puts their hands on you one time, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Literally, it's a wrap. They're going to continue to do it. They're not going to stop doing it. They're going to continue to do it any chance that they get.
Yep.
So if you know me and you know how I've talked about people in sports that are in domestic violence and are still playing, how much I hate that and just how much I hate domestic violence in general, dip, leave,
Yes.
get
There's
the
so
hell
many
out of
programs.
there. There's so many different things that you
Yeah.
can do. Find a family member, make a phone call. There's so many different things that you can do. Don't end up hurt or in jail because you did something wrong and then they make it look like it's your fault or whatever it may be, or you end up dead like my cousin. So long story short, if you do have kids and you feel that you're a female that has to stay in a relationship because of that, bye, leave. I left my ex-wife because I came to and said, I'm not going to stay with her just because I have 2 kids with her. It is toxic. It's not working. It's never going to work. So just don't do it, ladies. If you're listening, don't do it. You have kids, move on. You
Yes.
are better than that, no matter what.
And I wanna, can we get a fun flex, like a bomb? You get a bomb? Like, can I get a bomb?
Oh, he's like, wrong.
I'm sorry, I just saw him in concert. And
They'll work.
definitely-
They'll
okay. All right. But
That's
and to
great.
add to that, if you are a female that has children and you're in a domestic violence relationship and you think you're never gonna die and you survive, good for you. That doesn't mean your children are. Because those little kids are gonna think that's normal, and either your boys are gonna beat up on a girl and end up in prison, or your daughters are gonna end up dead because they thought it was normal.
Right.
Yeah. That your kids
So
tolerate
you gotta
what they see.
break that cycle. If it's not for you, it has to be for kids. I never understand how people's kids are not enough to get out of these toxic relationships. Like, I just don't make no sense to me.
Yeah. Fear. It could be
lots of fear.
It could be that potential. I know you have that on your list of like why people stay in toxic relationships. I mean, if I'm honest, I've caught myself in a domestic situation. I mean, it wasn't to a point where it was like, you know, black eyes and stuff like that, but yeah, definitely hands were being put on one another, and it started small. Like, and I think that you can forgive a small thing where you're like, okay, maybe I pushed the buttons too
Yeah.
far, or maybe I provoked. And then next thing you know, you catch yourself in a whole ass situation where you're like, this is not right. But then it's like, I don't even know how I even got here. You know what I mean? And then it's almost embarrassing after defending someone for so long that you're like, what do I do now? Like, where do I go?
Yeah.
And I remember at one point I was so embarrassed and I didn't want to tell like my mom or anyone. Which Ruby eventually found out because I confided in someone else.
I tried to run him over at the parking lot in
She
Target,
did.
and he
She
called
did.
the cops on me.
But I think that I got to a point where I was looking for a home, like looking for help because I'm like, I don't want my family to know, you know. So I think that it's also really easy to stay in a situation out of like humiliation, and you
Facts.
don't want everyone
I've
to be
been
like, I told you,
Yeah.
you know, I told you that he was not good for you, but it's not what you want to hear. I think you just want more of like support, and you want to know that like, okay, you're safe.
Yeah.
And because I felt like no one would really understand, I'm like, I have to just stick this out until, you know, until I came to a point where I got the balls to call the police, and then it was downhill from there. So, hey, I'm in a healthy place now.
I'm so happy for you.
I feel like
Good,
I'm
good.
like in a support group right now.
Hi, my name is.
Hi.
And I'm over here like mad as fuck. Like, what I tell your ass? Like, where is he? I
Yeah.
still want to kill him. Like,
I
yeah.
think that with her saying that, I just want to tell all the parents out there that have small children, you have to applaud all of your kids' achievements and even their failures and talk to them about it, obviously, you know, because if you constantly have these standards for your kids and your kids feel like they're constantly letting you down, let me tell you something. They're never going to come to you. They're not going to feel safe around you. They're always going to feel like you're going to be disappointed in them. And if they're ever in a situation like Anna was, they're not going to come to you. They're going to either stick it out and something worse is going to happen to your child, or they're going to go somewhere else, you know? So I always encourage parents to have an open dialogue with their kids. And if their kid says, hey, I fucked up, then be like, it's okay. It's okay. Come to me. It's okay. You know, I think that's huge. And that is one of the steps to helping your kid not go into their first relationship and it being toxic and them just having to stay there. So that's how it starts. It definitely starts in your home with the parents and how they raise them. So I feel that, you know, us evolving is going to help our kids. And eventually, hopefully, there's going to be a lot more people who are going to not tolerate or not bring that into a relationship.
How do you guys feel about the whole like the new like trend that everyone thinks is cute, where they're like, oh, mi tóxica, I love my tóxica, and I think it's funny, like they'll post videos of like her putting stickers on the car, like I have a girlfriend, or showing up at parties, and they think it's cute to be toxic.
Well, no, they're normalizing, you know, their insecurities, and they're normalizing something that they see at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they're just trying to
Like they're just embracing it.
embracing and they're
Yeah.
coping with it, and that's what they see at home. Like I clearly remember my son saying like, oh, my girl, like I want my girlfriend to like do something that was a toxica, whatever. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, yeah, toxica. And I was like, are you serious? Like when have you ever seen that? And he's like, no, but like that's what the kids want, and that's what girls want. Girls want guys that are, you know, asses, that are this, that are mean, that are. I'm like, what girls? Because he's like, yeah, no, mom, they do. He's like, that's why I don't like, no one wants to like be with me because I'm like the nice guy and no girl wants the nice guy. And I'm like, dude, just
Wait your turn.
wait your, like, hold off. Don't turn
You're a
into that.
gem. You're like, you're a gem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't give in.
And
Someone
I
will
had to like
appreciate you.
school him on that. I'm like, no, they're wrong. Just stick to who you are. Eventually your time will come with a person who's the right person for you, you know, instead of wanting to turn into what supposedly the girls want, you know.
So like
weird.
for me is like, okay, so I've never cheated. Like that's just not my thing. I talk too much. I'm gonna tell on myself. I think shit's funny when it's not.
I talk too much.
Like, you know, I can't cheat. There's no way in
Oh
hell
my
I will fucking be
God.
like,
You're
oh
like
my-
telling your boyfriend, guess what? I went out with this guy last
yeah,
night.
guess
Yeah, and
what?
it's
He
just like-
swore he was, and he really wasn't. You know, like so I just don't do it. But how do you feel like? Do you feel like it's because of social media? But I feel like cheating is becoming such a norm. Like everyone cheats. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do we stop that? It's just like, by the time you date someone at my age, everyone's so broken and damaged, and everyone's just so like, what's the word I'm looking for? They're so disappointed that it's like, who's gonna cheat on who first? So it's kind of like, how do we shift that mentality, right? Because that's a level of toxic. Like, I'm not gonna cheat on you, bro. So like, don't even think about it. But it's becoming something that's so normal that it's almost like a race to see who's not gonna like end up hurt first.
And not only that, it becomes a normal conversation. Let's say if you're with your partner, you have a fight or an argument. If you guys are disagreeing or you guys have a big fight, those type of things may come to your head. Oh, well, you're gonna go cheat on me because you're mad, or oh, we've been fighting for the last year, this, that, whatever. Someone might go do something. So it is a social media thing. If you look at it, it's becoming the norm to do that type of stuff. The toxica thing. Like, if you look at it too, who looks worse there? The woman does, not the guy.
Yeah.
The woman and the guy are doing the video together, but the woman is the one that's being looked upon bad by that video. But they're okay with it. You know what I mean?
Everyone's laughing.
Yeah, and they think it's funny, and it's like, that's what you're showing your generation to grow up with. Like, I don't want my daughter to be a toxica. I don't want her giving her man or her future boyfriend, husband, whatever it may be, those type of issues, and then joking about like. First of all, don't put your personal stuff like that out there on social media. You know what I mean? Even if it's a joke, you're not joking about it if it's real. Especially the toxica stuff, because we know it's real and it happens on a daily. And it's on both sides. It's not all the women. It's not all the guys. It's half and half. Guys are toxic and so are women. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
100%. I agree.
I feel like people are always thinking that the grass is always greener on the other side. Like, they're constantly like, let's say, you know, they have a little issue with you, and then automatically they're like, oh, well, this person is, but then they come to realize, well, yeah, maybe she's better in this way, but, you know, she's better in this way. And then they start bouncing around, and it's just this hot mess of like.
But that's what I meant earlier when I said I don't believe in second chances. Like, if we're dating and I feel like we're both engaged and like we've come up to the understanding that, you know, we're trying to work towards a relationship. If I'm all in and you're pretending to be all in, and then maybe that week I'm too busy to see you, and then you're like, oh shit, well, I need attention, and then you go and you meet someone and they have more attention to give you because they're not as involved in their children's life, they always come back. Do you know what I'm saying? They always want to be like, well, I fucked up. You sure did. You sure did. Bye. And that's what I mean by I don't believe in second chances. Because I feel like, is that going to happen every time you're bored?
Yeah.
Is that going to happen every time I'm too busy?
But then it goes back to communication.
Yeah, but
where it's like, okay, well, what, like, what I understand, or the way I take it is like, okay, let's talk about why you did that.
Yeah.
Like, why did you feel the need
you're
to
fucking
disconnect?
thinking you're going to get away with it. We're adults.
But you jump to it because you don't know. And maybe they could. But then if you address it and you're like, let me tell you something, you do that again, we're for real. Like, we're done.
I address it up from the jump. This is what it is. You make me look stupid, we're done. I will never make you look stupid.
Well, but you're not looking stupid. If someone cheated on you, I would never think you were stupid. I would never be like,
Agreed.
oh my God.
No, you're
really?
making me look stupid if you're still telling me something different. Does that make sense?
Like, he's saying I'm not cheating and he is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And here I am. You're still on my social media. I am looking stupid because a lot of people know yo te creo a ti. That's gonna be the word, the Spanish.
Yo te creo.
Yo te creo. Tú ya sabes.
The Spanish word of the day is
Yo te creo a ti. The Spanish phrase of the day is yo te creo a ti. Can someone translate that for me, please?
I believe in
I
you.
believe in you, or I believe you?
I believe you, probably.
believe
Yeah,
you.
that sounds better. Yeah.
Yeah. And then now I'm defending you, and it's like I look stupid, and I go, that's a Botox is expensive, y'all. Stay out of toxic
Or like
relationships.
my mom says, me miraste la cara de pendeja.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not disrespecting any ladies. I'm just saying that's the phrase that they.
But then, okay, so then how come, like, you know, marriages, people have been together for over 40 years, like, they went through some stuff.
That's what I was just going to ask you guys. So one on here is a lot
She's
of
like,
people.
let me get back to my sheet.
She's like, to my
I
sheet. It says on here, when you invest too much time and effort into a relationship, people stay. Like, what do you feel about that? And then it goes into what you were just saying. Like, there's married couples that are together for like 40 years that have gone through abuse, cheating, all kinds of stuff. And then you see them in like their 60s and they're like the happiest couple ever. Like, do you think like being with someone for so long and just going through that, you either evolve together, or do you think you just give up and you're just like, oh, I'm over all this?
I think it could go either way. I think it depends on if you're putting in the work, like to obviously like get
Right.
better. I've actually read once that it said the most powerful thing that you'll ever go through is falling out of love with your partner. I don't know if that's true, but I think that maybe once that honeymoon phase and everything fades and you get to really sit and get to know your person,
Yeah.
and you see their flaws, you see their worst, and they see your worst, I think there could be a connection. But I think that you really have to work on it and communicate and heal
Yeah.
together and allow each other to have that space to heal. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah.
Versus like just brushing everything under the rug and pretending that, you know,
It-
nothing happened, because I think that later you'll just grow resentment towards one another.
Yeah.
But I do think that, yeah, people who've been together for a long time, I'm sure their relationship has been nothing near perfect, you know?
I want to share a story with you guys now that you said that. It was really emotional, and it kind of changed a little bit my perspective on our relationship. And maybe I should be trying a little harder, because I don't really try, you know? When I was coming back from New York, I was on the flight, and I got the aisle seat, right? And next to me was this older gentleman, and he was like, "Get comfortable. We're going to get to know each other." And I was like, "Nah, put on my headphones," right? Like, and then he pulls out his phone right before takeoff. He's like, "I got to call my wife." His wife was next to us, but in the middle. They didn't seat them together, right?
Oh my gosh.
So my heart, I'm like, right? And then she's like, "Hey, baby." He's like, "How are you?" And then they're like giggling, and they're old. They're like in their 70s.
Oh, that's the cutest.
And then she's like, "This is going to be one to remember." And then he's like, "Yeah." She's like, "We should talk to them, to the airline, to Delta when we get back, because I don't want to sit without you, baby." And then he was like, "I love you." He's like, "I'll see you soon, okay?" And then I was like,
Oh.
They were doing that on purpose to see if you would switch seats. That's
Yeah,
what it
right.
was.
and then I was like, if I ain't happy, nobody happy. She stayed her ass over there. No, I ended up switching seats.
What happened? I thought you did.
Right? They got their way. They were like,
Oh,
They
it
got
worked.
me.
It worked.
I was
They had
like,
it scripted and
I would have
everything.
done the same thing. I would have switched. I would have been
Dude.
like, just take
They
my
were probably rehearsing before the flight. Okay, remember, we're gonna say this. All right.
so then I was like, "Look, it's only an hour and a half flight. I could switch with her." And he's like, "No, you know, you don't have to." I said, "Man, clearly y'all can't live without each other." I said, "I don't want you guys talking across the aisle to each other."
blowing
And
kisses
then-
at one another.
Yeah, I was like, "You're making me depressed," and he was laughing, and I was like, "Damn, that's what it should be like." You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And when I switched seats with them, they held hands the whole flight because I kept
Aw.
looking.
I mean, that too, that they want to, sit together.
yeah,
That's cute. Like, if they weren't really happy, they'd be like, "Oh, we just got a break from each
Yeah.
other. Like, I'm gonna stay right here."
fuck him. Yeah. And they didn't. It was so cute. And then they were just like, I just thought that was amazing. And I'm like, that is kind of like when I think of a relationship, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is my vision of a relationship. So that's why I think it's hard for me to be in a relationship, because I don't believe, like, I feel like we've normalized, oh, it gets so hard, but you have to be there. Why? If that's the right person, why it gotta be so hard?
Yeah, I shouldn't. I'm gonna actually quote. No, not like quote, because I don't remember.
Jenny
exactly.
Rivera?
No, not Jenny Rivera.
Ta madre, no,
I'm gonna quote Will Smith. He
Oh.
just had an interview with Oprah recently.
We shouldn't be quoting Jada or
no,
right now.
listen to
Their
what he
entanglement.
said.
What are you gonna say? Jiggy with it?
Get jiggy with it, guys. He said that he's in charge of his own happiness and she's in charge of her own happiness. Okay, so they both realized,
wow.
because Oprah said, so do you think like you guys will ever kind of like go be with other people, or do you guys have an open relationship, or like what's up? And he said,
Oprah knows it. She be asking the most
she
questions.
asked like and he said, there's no man out there that can make Jada happy. Jada has to make Jada happy. And there's no woman out there that can make Will happy. Will has to make Will happy. So she's not going to
mean-
go out there looking for a man, and I'm not going to go out there looking for a woman to make me happy. We already came to that agreement, because that's where they were lost before. They were trying to find happiness in other people, in other entanglements. And they realized
Entanglements. I love it.
that that's not.
She said that, by the way. She
I-
called it.
No, no,
an
I know,
entang-
I
I
know.
will,
was gonna say,
I will
I
say
remember.
this: a really good album came out from that situation. So
Really?
yeah,
Who?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who?
the kid, huh?
Who?
You mean
are you
August
talking-
Alsina?
Yeah,
Yeah.
August.
I was
Oh,
like,
I have no
the
idea
kid?
who it is.
Yeah, August came out with an
He
album.
was like
and it
24
really
years
good.
old. It was a young.
Yeah,
young guy.
and that goes back to childhood trauma. he found family in them.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to where toxic relationships come. So he probably thought he was wrong, but he never felt that. So to him, it was like, I'm not wrong.
That was his mom.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
weird.
shit.
That's weird. Yeah.
I have.
That's another topic for another
That's
show.
another one. But
Damn.
what about religious reasons? Do you think
Yes, I
people
wanted to talk about that.
religious reasons
Yes.
why people stay together?
Yes.
Yes.
Who wants to touch on that?
Why are you pointing at
Do I
me?
know?
Because you've been wanting to
Oh,
talk about
I
it.
thought you pointed at Quan. I was like,
Yes.
Quan.
Yes.
Get on the
Okay.
mic.
So, religion. People that get married, right?
Mhm.
In certain religions,
Mhm.
and then use the word or their religion believes or Bible, whatever, to manipulate the woman.
Mhm.
Because when it comes to religious, it goes that way, right? It never goes the opposite way. Because the female is always broken down as the list of a person than the other one, right? Because people want to be like, God created man first, so the man is superior, right? And then they blame everything on the female, right? All the time. It's like, well, you know, Ishmael was born because Sarah couldn't have kids. Ain't no way in hell you're gonna tell me a female was like, go bang her freaking servant and give me a child and bring it over here, right? But the Bible and every religion has kind of like put a female at a lower standard, where I feel like when people get married through the religious belief, they kind of like manipulate that and make the female the less one of the two.
They dumb them down.
Oh yeah, dumb them down. So that alone is like crazy, because there's physical abuse, mental, it's everything. In that category of religion, you get every type of like abuse you can possibly get. Some of them don't even get good sex because it's against the religion. So it's not like it's like, oh, we're gonna make up sex, woo. It's like, no, they don't even get that. So it's kind of like, you know, as a Christian, is like, how far has religion taken it, and how many people have they torn down?
Or Catholic too.
Well, yeah, I'm saying like religion in general. How have we allowed something that's supposed to be so positive to break so many people, right? Even in the Middle East, like, how do we allow them to treat the woman like that still? That's not a good God. If
It's
you're
like
talking
illegal,
about God.
right? To cheat in some
If you're a
countries.
female, is illegal, but if you a dude, you're fine.
Even in like the military, I think. Yeah, like.
but you have to have mad proof, like sex tapes and everything, and then you
Oh.
get taken out
that
of the
you can
military.
get discharged. Yeah.
Yeah.
For adultery if you're married. If it's a girlfriend, it's a different story. But if you're married,
But that's what I mean. Like how? Like, it just, to me, that's the most emotional and the most touchy one for me. You know, because it happens, and like I don't know. Like, people that use the Bible to manipulate their woman, like I don't get it. Like, I just want to smack them in the face with that Bible and stick it up.
Yeah.
okay.
Like,
Got it.
on top
I was
of,
like, I was
the
like, okay,
the
let's
kitchen
cut that.
where they can't grab it or something. Because you know what I,
I
mean?
thought you were
Like,
gonna say something else. That's why I was like, oh, cut.
no, like,
her mic.
it gotta be put away because you're not reading it correctly.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, when I see stuff and I'm like, man, you know, or like, to each his own, pick your own religion. I'm not saying nothing, but as a female, it really, and as a Christian, it just breaks my heart to see how people use the word to manipulate people. Like, that shit. I mean, that's not what the religion does. That is, right? That's why you should find your own belief and you need to read the Bible and find your own purpose.
What about these spiritual leaders that end up cheating and then they're like, oh, it was a moment of weakness. I'm this.
Or the
I'm
priest
that.
that rape all them
Yep.
kids.
And so I think like, okay, because if you're a religious leader, you're kind of married to your religion, right? So that's the same thing. It's like you're in this toxic where you don't want to be a religious leader. You don't want to be married to this religion and these teachings and these beliefs.
Right.
Because they are, I personally believe that they're limiting beliefs, you know? And so they truly don't want to be there. And it's a toxic relationship. You know, it's a toxic relationship between the religious leader and their, you know,
Spouse?
their church, their whatever they're married to, you know. And because even if you're like a pastor and you're married to a wife and you still, your church is still your, that's like your family.
Because that's how Jesus treated the church.
You know, so
Well, there's
My-
a calling to. I mean, it's very specific in the Bible as to like leaders. I'm trying to think of. I can't even think of the specific name. But they have instructions on like
Yeah.
I think that what happens is that people take positions that are not even for
Meant
them.
to be
like,
for
Yeah.
them.
yeah, it's like they step into a calling that's just never been for them to begin with.
No, but the money's
but
good.
but the
tax
money's
credits,
good. The title that comes with it is good.
Yeah.
It's all ego based, and so they play a part that's just not for them, and
I
that's
will
where
tell
the
you,
downfall happens. You know.
Two
Tell
of my
me.
two of my most toxic
I
relationships.
thought you were gonna say 2 of my toes. I'm like, what?
One update. No, sorry. I'm
I
all
was
like,
thinking something
I'm all
else.
pissed. Two of my most toxic relationships were with Christian guys, who
Cu-
I wasn't
Christian
even
guys?
I wasn't even
Christian.
sexually involved with.
Oh.
Yet it was just the worst. Like I couldn't act a certain way. I couldn't post certain things. I couldn't do certain things. I couldn't say certain things. I couldn't. And it was like, like
You couldn't be you.
I just couldn't be myself.
You're like, I have a lot to say.
I said,
this ain't gonna work out.
excuse me, sir, you couldn't pay for dinner and you're giving your pastor $100. We need to talk about it.
Yeah.
I've noticed for me that I've struggled most with people, Christian guys. And it's because the Bible has put them at they just feel like they got to do X, Y, and Z because of what the church has told them. And they can't even live a normal life because they're messing up and then they start getting trauma behind the mess ups. And it's like, bro, it's just so toxic. And then they want to drop Bible verses on you. And it's like, bro,
Well, I just want to read. This is LaDonna left a comment that says, "It's toxic because of how they choose to use the Bible to manipulate. It's human behavior, not God's instruction."
Yep. That's why
That's well said.
one day we should talk about
yeah, we're
about
God.
like Jesus consciousness, and how people want to get to that, and how you can slowly start to take that in. It doesn't mean your life is going to drastically change to where like you have to be extremely spiritual and holy. It's just a way of thinking.
Yeah.
And you could still have loads of fun, you could still drink, you could still do a lot of joyful things
But
in
be
your
a
life,
good person.
but with a different type of
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah.
So
So more moral, like your moral
yeah,
standard.
exactly. So I think that that's amazing. That should be replaced with certain things, because we're not going to talk about that today because that's not our topic. But I have one more question for you guys. So how do you guys feel about if you're in a relationship, like Jose, you've been in a long relationship, and then you got a divorce and stuff like that. When you're with a partner and you've been together for a long time, you gained mutual friends, you had, game nights on certain days, you did a lot of activities with these people and all that. And when you have a breakup, you feel like you lose your identity. You feel like one of you is going to lose the friends, one of you is not going to have that social life anymore, one of you has to start completely over with everything. What do you guys think about that? Losing your identity in a separation.
I think it's very true because like you said it, because you grow all these relationships, and it not only does it become a friendship, it becomes part of your life, part of your everyday life. You hang out, you have game nights, or you go to clubs or bars, and you throw parties, your kids, whatever it may be. Those other people are always there, so you're growing those relationships together. So when that relationship no longer is there, and you have to break apart, it's like, what do I do now? Do I still try to communicate with these people, or is it going to be hard because they're still communicating with her, and I don't want to see that? So it becomes very difficult. I mean, I've been through it. I've gone through it. You know what I mean? And luckily for me, I still have a lot of friends that did know my previous relationships that even now know my current wife, and and they're females as well. You know what I mean? So it's okay to have male and female friends, but it's also hard to continue to stick with those after a relationship because you don't know how to pick and choose, if that makes sense.
Does it become like conflicting being with friends? I just feel like it limits the friendship so much more, because before it was like you could talk about anything. How's your
Gotcha.
wife? How are your kids? And then now it's like, hey, you know what I mean? I just feel like there's a wall now.
I think the hardest one would be it would be conflicting when you're trying to communicate and stay with the people you met through her side, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like with your friends, and she met people, it is what it is. Those are still your friends. The hard part there is if that friend has a girlfriend or a wife, and they ended up hitting it off and they're really, really cool, that's going to be hard. You know what I mean?
got it.
Because
Okay.
if I'm hanging out with my buddy and then his wife is bringing up my ex-wife or my ex-girlfriend or whatever it may be, that's going to be a tough conversation or just a tough situation to be around.
So how would you handle that? I'm just curious. I'm
I-
glad you brought this up
Yeah,
because
that's a good-
my boyfriend was married for 10 years.
Okay.
And he's actually still really connected to her family. and he calls, you know, some of her family members his cousins.
Gotcha.
And I feel uncomfortable at times to be around because, you know, it gets brought up at times, and it has been brought up, and it like there was times where I just almost felt disrespected.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So I'm curious to know what it's like to be in your shoes in that situation. Like, I mean, I don't know if you're still connected.
So
that deeply,
with my
but-
ex-wife, I'm not connected with anyone. Now, anyone that does see me on her side of the family is always very respectful and nice to me. It's been years since I've seen any of them, but whenever I see them social media, whatever it may be, that's not a hard conversation. It's pretty easy.
So it's like very short. Is it pretty short?
It's short, but there's no like disrespect, if that
Okay.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I'm in a situation where my ex-wife gets along very well with my stepdaughter, my oldest daughter, with her grandmother and her uncle and her side of the family, which is her whole ex-suegros and everything. You know what I mean? So it took me a few years to be able to accept that, because they would come over the house. We threw family parties. They were there. And it's like, no, like, I don't want this. I don't want to be around these people. And, you know, I made it be known. We've had a lot of fights. We had arguments. I got into it with her, with that side of the family and everything. Now we're cool as hell. Things have changed. There's been a lot of conversations, a lot of drunken parties and things like that, where you talk and things actually get opened up. You know what I mean? But those are very, very hard situations to deal with. I'm still learning how to deal with the one I'm dealing with.
Right.
But I'm at a point where I accept it now and I understand it a lot better. As where in the beginning, I was just like, fuck this, no way. I don't want anything to do with these people. But yet I didn't even know who they were yet. You know what I mean?
See.
So
Yeah.
So for me, I've been like in that situation twice. I've been in a situation with my son's dad, because he was everyone's barber. So like after we broke up, he was still everyone's barber, and I would hear stories about him because all my cousins and my uncles and everyone got a haircut by him. And then I've always had a good relationship with his mom. So like I'd be like, yo, like, you know, I was just like, hey, you want to go to Japan? And I think because I mean well, sometimes I might step a little overboard, because like I don't mean
Like
nothing wrong.
overstep your boundaries.
Yeah,
in
like
some
I'd be
ways
like, hey, we're gonna go to Japan. You wanna go to Japan?
Because
But
he has a relationship.
because I have a relationship
with the mom.
with the mom.
With the
Yeah,
grandma.
but it's just you feel you're disrespecting or
Because he's
overstep
in a
'cause he's in
relationship,
it. Yeah,
right?
That's what I
Oh,
wanted
I
Yeah,
to
and
see.
even though
Yeah.
like his girlfriend and I don't have a relationship, it's just kind of like morally who I am. Like sometimes I'm like, shit, maybe I shouldn't have said that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty dope. Clearly she still like me. Anyway, sorry. The little,
pat
the
yourself
little
on the
the Kanye came out of me.
That
So
Gemini.
then my past relationship, and I know Anna was actually there to see a big part of this. I had a crush on a guy since I was like 15. It was like amor platónico. Like it wasn't really like a crush, but I was really young. He was like about 8 years older than me.
holy.
Hold on, I'm done.
Okay,
Probably
I wanna
not
hear
8
this.
years.
Do we have enough time for this?
So then,
Yeah,
so
right.
then his sister is married to my cousin, and he's related from the same rancho as my stepdad, so they'll have the same last name. And we like rekindled a couple years back, and he kind of hit on me. It's like, say less. Been waiting for this since I was 14, right? So I was waiting for this moment since I was 14. Shit, everyone was like, yo, be careful. It's not what you think it is. So I stayed in that relationship a lot longer because I had posted him on social media, and it was a family thing. And his cousins and my cousins, we was all cousins.
Oh my
right?
god.
So I didn't,
Oh
I
my
didn't, it was
God.
just weird, right? And when we broke, I had to end it. We had, you know, it was a horrible, toxic. I mean, it was the first time I had gone through depression. I mean, and I would just randomly cry because I was embarrassed. It was
Is
more,
that when you went off social media? For a
yes.
while? Yeah. remember
I
that.
was so embarrassed because I shouldn't have posted him as fast as I did. And he basically put me out on social media for being a hoe because he wanted everyone to believe I cheated on him. And that was the reason we broke up. Not that he was crazy, along with a whole other list of things, right? So my pride was so hurt. I wasn't heartbroken. I was devastated and torn.
Like humiliated. in some ways, right?
Humiliated because now I loved his sister. Me and his sister had a great relationship, but now we don't.
Yeah.
And I lost one of my favorite cousins because his sister's married to my favorite cousin's brother.
Jesus.
So then she got involved and she tried to give me a heads up about him. And then he cut ties between her and me. So I lost a whole ass family because I was too embarrassed to be like, this is what happened. Right. And then imagine like dating and telling someone, well, my ex is my cousin's cousins and they're all cousins. And
That's what I was about to say. Did you guys keep count? 'Cause
Yeah,
she was
no,
like,
I'm
oh, my
like,
cousin,
you
cousins, best cousins,
Bro,
cousins, friends,
He
cousin.
wasn't your cousin though,
no,
right?
well,
Yeah, right. We're like, let me just clear that up.
well, because my stepdad and me were not blood, but I grew
Oh,
up with them
okay.
since I was 3, right?
Oh,
But that's
okay.
how it be in Mexico. In the
Yeah, of
rancho,
course.
all
Yeah,
song,
yeah.
you know, in the
You're all
rancho,
family.
everyone's
Yeah.
family.
Primo, come on over.
Hey, and that it was even worse because like if there was a wedding, either he was gonna see me in the
Yeah.
pictures or I
Oh,
was gonna
no.
see him in the pictures,
Yeah.
right? But man, so
I honestly, I give it to people who can work through stuff like that and just still show up to the same functions. I'm just like,
I didn't do nothing
I
wrong,
can't.
so
I just can't. I don't know if that's my pride.
Yeah.
I just feel like you're dead to me. Like when you're, I mean, I also don't have kids. This is my first time being with someone who,
Yeah.
you know,
When you have kids,
but
it's
with
different,
kids, I
yeah.
could see it's a whole different ballgame because it's like, what, I have to spend the rest of my life with you,
Well,
really?
what if you didn't have a toxic relationship? What if, hey, it didn't work out? You guys split. Do you think you guys could still hang out together?
No.
Your new parties, this,
No.
that with kids, nothing?
No,
I could do that with my son's
it doesn't
dad.
have
He
to be
can't do it
toxic
with me.
because then they'll still be. I think I'll still feel some attraction.
Okay.
my-
Oh,
okay.
it's a
If I'm
physical
honest.
thing.
No,
No,
it's
but
good.
I used,
It's good. Exactly.
I
Be
used,
honest
nah,
about it.
I
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
think the same thing. No, queen.
No,
Once
I-
you heal, it
Yeah,
goes away.
It, totally.
I don't
My
know.
my
Once-
son's dad.
Everyone
Because
knows
it's like-
their self. You know yourself.
I just feel like
Yeah,
there's
that's
a
true.
reason
I
why.
also know her.
Why we?
And you ain't gonna feel like that.
I don't know. No, I couldn't be friends with that person still
Gotcha.
But
because
that's what I'm
it'll
saying,
bring
yeah.
me back to that.
You know
feeling,
what? You know, my son's dad and I had a really toxic relationship, and now we're like really, really good friends. And I always forgave him. Like I always forgave him, and I was just like, I moved on. And like Ruby knows this. I was
Yeah.
like always really nice to him, and I always like we talked about the whole child support. Like I always just wanted him in my son's life, right?
Same.
And one day, I remember he was giving me a ride, and he turns around, he looks at me, and he goes, "I was really mean to you, wasn't I?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm really sorry."
Aw.
He's like, "I'm really, really sorry that I was mean to you. You didn't deserve it."
Aw, it should be like that.
And
It's maturity.
and this was like years later, and I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Thank you." In a way, I wanted to be like, "No, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it." But then I'm like, "No, it's not okay."
Oh yeah, like, you get
Yeah.
to take responsibility.
You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
claimed it. I claimed that apology,
should.
and I took it with me. And from there, he has several times been like, "Dude, like, thank you for being such an awesome person." And I always tell him like, "You know what? You're awesome too." Like,
Yeah.
and so we have a really close relationship. Like, it's almost weird close.
My son's dad and I, we had a really toxic relationship, and he's my friend. I might not be his, but he's mine. And I have no
you know-
anger towards him and no grudges, and he be acting
the way
like he don't
friendships
like
work
me.
is it has to be a mutual.
Well, he sends me memes
Agree with it?
sometimes
So you
Okay.
guys still have
of
fun.
Raiders and Lakers. I think that
He
if
secretly.
I wish that he would just be on the same page as me so we can be friends, because I'm like, you're not a bad person. We're just weren't for each other, and that's okay.
I have such a radical belief in that. I really think that you can't have a relationship with someone you were once intimate with.
Oh,
That's my radical belief.
I don't even remember
just-
what it was like. So
Just for
either.
the simple fact, and maybe not, I'm not talking about the intimacy, but just like, it's easy to keep that door open, like the emotional support. Like it's easy to call them and be like, hey, I'm having a shitty day, and you're talking to them about something, right? And then it's like that door is always going to be open, and it's going to be easy to fall right back.
It,
But that's
No,
my
no.
radical
Yeah.
view.
But I used to think like that, and like when my son's dad was single for a while last year, he came and we had beers in the car, and there was nothing, and I was like, bro, shut the fuck up. And we started I was giving him advice about females, and he was talking. With time, it heals.
You know why? Because I feel that you're in a relationship with that person for the wrong reasons.
Yep.
So it was never actually love. It was never actually any
okay.
of it.
Yeah.
So when you're out of that
Conveniencia.
relationship, yeah. Like I know for a fact that I married my son's dad because I wanted to escape, I guess you could say. You know, and he offered me something that I was like, cool. You know, and that's where I went. And so it was for the wrong reason. So I don't want to like I can't actually be like, oh my god, I was with him because like, you know, it was just like the best thing. No,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So I think that that's why it was easier for us to just be friends. Because probably if we would have never been together, we could have been friends.
You can, not to
You know.
cut you guys off. We're really short on time. This is such a good
We're actually
subject.
out of time.
Yes,
We are
we will
totally out
probably
of
get
time.
into this again. We're all going to tell you guys our social media. You can follow. You can watch us on our YouTube, which is Bringing Apart podcast. You can watch us on Vegas Hype Media. Instagram Instagram breaking underscore apart underscore podcast. My IG is soy la misma Ruby.
Who wants to go around the table?
Go ahead.
My IG is Jose_Volonte.
Mine is at Anna Shell.
And mine is at agape love_Reiki.
Thank you guys. Stop being toxic.
Bye. Raise your
Peace.
vibration.
Raise your vibration. Stop cheating.
Or do it in